This was the ship that people said would never sink. But the shocking truth is that the Titanic, which took 1,200 days to build, sank to the bottom of the ocean in just 2 hours. On April 10, 1912, the Titanic was ready to set sail from Southampton, England, on its maiden voyage. The sea was calm, the sky was clear, and thousands of people had gathered to witness this historic moment. No one knew that just a few hours later, this magnificent ship would become part of one of the greatest tragedies in human history. Construction of the Titanic began in 1909, and after nearly 3 years of hard work by over 2,000 laborers, the ship was finally completed. When it was unveiled, the world proudly called it the Unsinkable Titanic. The ship was traveling from Britain to New York, carrying some of the richest people on Earth. A first-class ticket cost the equivalent of about $3,400 today. But hidden within this marvel were 6 fatal flaws that would soon turn it into a disaster. The first mistake came when the ship's owners pressured Captain Edward Smith to reach New York within 7 days. Because of this pressure, he kept the ship moving at high speed from the very beginning, even though maritime rules suggested that a new ship should be sailed slowly on its first voyage. This haste would prove disastrous later. The second mistake occurred when several nearby ships sent iceberg warnings at least 6 times, but the Titanic's wireless operators were busy sending personal messages for first-class passengers. They ignored the alerts completely. Had they taken even one of those warnings seriously, the story might have been very different. The third mistake was that the ship's lookouts were on duty, but they didn't have binoculars. When they finally spotted the iceberg, it was already too late. The Titanic was moving too fast, and avoiding the collision was impossible. The fourth mistake was in the ship's construction. Instead of using steel rivets, builders used cast iron rivets, which were softer and weaker. When the Titanic struck the iceberg, these rivets couldn't handle the pressure, causing the lower compartments to tear open and fill with water rapidly. The fifth mistake was in the lifeboat count. The ship could hold 32 lifeboats, but the management only placed 20 on board. For over 1,500 passengers, that number was far too few. When the ship began to sink, chaos erupted. Many lifeboats were launched half empty, and most first-class passengers were given priority. If the lifeboats had been fully loaded, hundreds more lives could have been saved. On the night of April 14, 1912, at 2:18 a.m., the Titanic's lights flickered and went out. Moments later, the ship broke in two and disappeared beneath the freezing Atlantic Ocean. The water temperature was -2 degrees Celsius, 28 degrees Fahrenheit, cold enough to kill a person within 30 minutes. Nearly 1,500 people lost their lives that night. Most of the survivors were women and children. Captain Edward Smith stayed on board until the very end, helping passengers escape before going down with his ship. The story of the Titanic remains a timeless lesson that arrogance, negligence, and overconfidence in human power can never stand against the forces of nature.